welcome back to Project HEMI Swap. Working on the 1971 D100 front suspension. Today we're going to work on assembling the shock and spring assembly for the coilover conversion kit. So let's jump into it. Right here we have our QA1 shock. That's fully extended, so if you haven't already, go ahead and pull that completely out. And then you also have your spring, you have your locking collar, and also your spring perch. We'd also have our keeper, and then I'm going to use the bearing, the thrust bearing kit with the roller bearing along with the two washers. And then the tools that you're going to need for this are your 7/8 open-end ratchet, and then also your 5/8. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get some of our anti-seize. And so I'm just going to put this on heavy just to start out with. And then what I usually do is just take the finger and push it into the grooves. And the reason why you want to do this is that when you go ahead and adjust those shocks and your ride height, you're going to end up galling these threads if you don't have anti-seize on there, and if it is seized. All right, so this stuff goes a long way, so just go ahead and make sure that it's in the threads. All right, then the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna slip your locking collar on. And make sure that your shoulder is up. If you take a look at your collar, you'll notice the difference. And don't worry if you get anti-seize everywhere. You can just take your towel and wipe all that stuff off in the end. And then you may as well go ahead and get your locking collar on there as well, or your spring perch rather. All right, so the next thing you're gonna do is take your first washer. You're going to coat the underside of that washer. That's the side that's going to mate against your spring perch. And once you have that coated, just go ahead and set it in place. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is go ahead and coat your thrust bearing, both sides. That on now. And then the underside of this one. Now, since we have a copious amount on the top edge of the thrust bearing, we're just going to do this one really light. Like so. and sandwich it on top. All right. Let's give it a little wipe down. Clean it up. All right, at this point, let's go ahead and remove your gloves. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take this jam nut and the top of this, the eye loop, and you're going to remove the eye loop. What that's going to do is help you get this collar on. So earlier I went ahead and broke the nut, or at least broke it. So we'll take it off as so. Next thing you know, you're going to put your spring up. If you take a look, you can see Made in America, etc. QA's QA1 company name. And for me, aesthetically, I'm just going to line that up to even with the QA1 logo on the shock. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pop the collar on top. And then screw this back down. Now, the one thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to tighten up that nut. So the one thing that I did was I went out and bought a thinner 7/8 wrench, because the one I had was just enormous. And so what you can do is you can compress the spring slightly, just by your body weight, and that'll be enough to get this in. And once you get it in, you can go ahead and tighten that down. So I'm going to do that against my tire. And you want to tighten up the jam nut against your eyelet.